I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this land.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's review of 1917. It is the new film directed by Sam Mendes, starring George MacKay, Dean Charles Chapman, Mark Strong, Andrew Scott, Richard Madden, Claire Duburcq, Colin Firth, and Benedict Cumberbatch. The movie takes place during World War I and is about these two British soldiers who are given a task to deliver a message to a battalion of British troops to stop an attack that they were planning to make against the German forces. What they don't know is that the Germans made a deliberate attempt to withdraw and retreat so that they could regroup, so when the British do attack them, they'd be pretty much walking into a trap. And because the Germans had cut the phone lines, there is no other way to deliver this message other than by foot. So the stakes are pretty high. If they don't deliver the message on time, they could potentially risk losing hundreds of thousands of troops, including the brother of one of the soldiers, which is why he was chosen for the mission in the first place, because there's also something personal at stake for one of these characters. So this film solely focuses on these two men as they journey across no man's land, essentially into enemy territory, and the subsequent events that really test their resolve to getting the job done. A very simple story, easy to follow. However, what it took to accomplish Sam Mendes' vision for this film, man, that must have been complicated. This is perhaps the best directed film of 2019, for sure. A good director to me is someone who's good at planning. And you could tell just by watching this film, this required serious planning. The film is shot to look like one continuous take. So you're pretty much following these characters from one point to another non-stop. Now we've seen films like this before. The most recent example that I could think of is Birdman. However, Birdman spans the course of a few months, whereas 1917, it's all one continuous action. Right from the get-go, we never break away from the characters. Ever. We're pretty much following them throughout the whole film, from either in front of them or behind them. And it's seamless. It's obvious where they made, that special transition from one scene to another, but it's pretty well done. The average film goer probably wouldn't be able to spot it. There's a lot of attention to detail in this movie, which is important, I guess, because when you're making a film that's completely one shot, you just can't afford to make any continuity mistakes. While we are primarily focusing on our two characters within the foreground, there's always something going on in the background. A lot of things that have special significance. Whether it's like cherry blossoms falling from the trees, every little thing that's happening is important. Even script-wise, if there's something that the characters talk about in casual conversation, that little something will serve as something important later on in the film. So a great use of symbology and analogy in this film too. This is definitely a filmmaker's movie. Now a lot of people have compared the experience of watching this movie as a video game. Now I can understand why. You are constantly following these characters wherever they go. But to me, it still feels more cinematic. For one thing, the camera never shakes. You know how in certain films like Saving Private Ryan or Children of Men, the camera is shaking. So whenever the character trips, the cameraman will trip too. But the camera work in this film is pretty much steady all the way through, which I kind of appreciated. The whole shaky cam thing is starting to get a little old. So as much as it is an interactive experience, it's more of a presentation. Something simple, but still beautiful. And what I thought this film did really well is really create the world that a soldier lives in times of war. Whenever a person goes off into war or into the battlefield, they are never safe. It is a completely dangerous situation all the time. It's totally unpredictable. Wherever these characters find themselves in, just when you think that they're safe, no one's ever safe. And this film does not make it easy for our two characters. But the point I think they nailed the most was, why does a soldier keep going? Neither of those two wanted this mission. In fact, one of the soldiers admitted that they thought they were going to go on a food run. They didn't expect something this hard, but they're soldiers. This is what they signed up for. This is their duty. And many will die if they don't accomplish what they were set out to do. And even though one of them wants to earn a medal for, valor or whatever, in the end, it's not about them. Although I really appreciated that the director gave them that scene in which they admit their fears, their regrets, and, a little bit of a selfish want of glory, a reason for wanting a reward. So while what they're doing is brave, they're still human. They're still afraid, but they just gotta find the heart to keep going. And if these men survive, they were either lucky or it was a miracle. And if you lose somebody in war, the hardest thing to do is to not dwell on it because the job is not done. That is something that I've really come to appreciate about this film. This film makes you think about the kind of sacrifices that veterans make every day. I think sometimes we take that for granted. As for a few negatives, I really don't have any. There were a few scenes that kind of felt like they dragged on a bit, especially when not a lot of stuff was happening. I actually felt that added more realism to the fact that this was all one continuous action. Let's face it, not everything that we do in real life is spectacular. There are moments when things have to slow down, and it might seem uninteresting, but it is necessary. That's how I felt anyway. In the end, I find 1917 to be a beautifully shot, simple story told with a gimmick that really keeps you invested from start to finish. Throughout this film, I was thinking to myself, wow, that's impressive. I thought this was a remarkable film. It's a carefully choreographed film that's disguised in a way to not look choreographed thanks to the talent of the actors, the cinematographer Roger Deakins, and of course the brilliant director Sam Mendes. A truly remarkable experience, one that pays tribute to the courage and sacrifice of soldiers. Not only is this a filmmaker's movie, but I think this is a film that pretty much anybody can enjoy. I'm definitely gonna buy this on Blu-ray. I'm gonna give 1917 an A+. I've been giving a lot of movies A+'s lately, but what can I say? Thanks for watching my video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to see you again next time.